There's a story in Codebreaker, Hal, where we talk about God wanting to give humanity the greatest possible gift ever. And he's saying, where will I hide this gift? Oh, I know. I'll hide it on the highest possible mountain. And he thought, no, I can't do that. The English will go there. And then he said, oh, I'll hide it on the moon. And he went, no, the Americans will go there. And then I'll hide it in the deepest abyss in the oceans. And, oh, no, I can't do that. The Russians will go there. But he knew if he hid it and we had to strive for it, that we would know it was valuable. And in the end, he said, I know where I'll place this gift where they'll hardly ever find it. I'll place it deep within their own hearts. And it was the gift of love.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale Dwoskin, and today we'll be talking with Sandra Biskind. Sandra Biskind is a speaker, trainer, and co-author of Codebreaker, Discover the Password to Unlock the Best Version of You. She's on a soul mission to help empower you to create a life with no limits. When you read The Greatest Secret, what is it that struck you the most, or what did it remind you of, or just how did it affect you?
I actually, going through it, I thought, oh, okay, so this is going to be really powerful for humanity, because it's, quite frankly, it really is ancient spiritual wisdom.
Yes,
and
definitely.
It's brought down into a way, as Rhonda does so well, it's brought down into a way where we can understand it easily. And that was what struck me the most, was like the amount of people that this is going to affect, because they're going to hear truth. And, we know when we hear truth, we know it. Our souls know it. And so people will, if people have never been on a spiritual journey before, or never understood how life really works, then the greatest secret, all about being aware and awareness and our beingness state, is going to wake them up. And it's going to do it in a very user-friendly, fantastic way.
Yeah, I was really struck by that as well. I had a similar thought as I read it. When Rhonda contacted me, it's an interesting story. My wife and I were on trail hiking, and this is in the very beginning of the pandemic, and we were seeing all the suffering that was going on, and especially with the first responders. And we said, oh, we really need to see if we can get what we do out to the world now, even more because of what's going on. And we said, okay, when we just surrendered, we gave it to higher power or whatever, we just let go. And 2 weeks later, we were contacted by Brenda, who's Rhonda's sister, who runs the business. And she said, we have all these quotes of you and Lester Levinson that we want to put in our new book. You need to sign an NDA so I can tell you about it. I went, oh, okay.
Don't you love that?
Yes. And it so far, it's been really affirming, because it's so much of what's in The Greatest Secret is what we've been teaching for decades. And she did really express it in a beautiful way. But isn't your work very similar in a lot of ways? Isn't there a lot that complements what you do?
That was the other thing that I was, when I read it, and I said to Daniel, wow, this is so similar. We're tracking. And you know what I love about this, because I know that your work does this and Rhonda's work does this too, that with the spiritual leaders and teachers on the planet at the moment, all of us are tracking in a similar direction.
Yes.
And I feel like we've all come here with a mission and a purpose to really help set people free from the suffering, so that they can really show up as the best version of who they are in a state of happiness and joy. And that hasn't been happening recently. And this book is going to help it. So with our work, I really started conversing with divine beings as a 3-year-old, and Jesus would come to me at night and say to me, You are a child of God and you are love. And you have come here to let everyone know that that's who they are too. And my 3-year-old mind was like all joyous and happy, and it was really great. And so from a very young age, I've actually been a medium accessing divine information. And all of the work that we do in the world has been divinely downloaded. And that's why I loved reading The Greatest Secret, because I'm going, okay, so, Rhonda's bringing forward information that's also coming from that beautiful super consciousness, high awareness place. And that's when you know that you're on the right track. And that's when people can trust that what they're hearing is valuable, because it reaches into their soul, it reaches into their heart. So with our work, what we did, and I've never been interested in the stories of the conscious mind.
Right.
Because I've
It's a smokescreen.
Well, totally.
Yeah.
And as you know, the unconscious mind is running our business, our lives, relationships, everything more than 95% of the time. Thank goodness, science has actually caught up with what the information has been on the spiritual level. And that just what it means is that we're all carrying around these programs, their beliefs, ideas, stories in the unconscious. Like that's a deep, deep place. It is hidden from us, that is continually sabotaging our ability to have happiness and success. And if in the first place, the program was set up probably by the mind wanting to save us from pain or suffering. However, and it could have done a good job at that in the moment, but now, X amount of years later, something can trigger off that program, and all of a sudden, you're saying and doing things that do not support your life, do not support your relationships and your business. And most people don't even know why. They'll often say, well, why am I doing this? And so we were, it was Russian scientists, actually. Daniel did this research. It was Russian scientists who discovered that the 90% of junk DNA that we were supposed to have was in fact not junk DNA. And as if anything in to do with us would be junk, right? And so what they discovered was that this DNA responds to frequency and information and language. It's a particular language. And so what we've discovered is that by us making sure that we're on a very high frequency and using a particular set of language, of sentences, that we can access the millions of miles of information in the DNA, and we can neutralize and delete the emotional charge around that information, so that you are now free to make decisions from a whole other place. So in other words, your ancestors' DNA and information is no longer triggering you. Your past life and multidimensional realities are no longer triggering you. It's like this clearing out the unconscious, and it's like layering layers of mind, layers of thought. And if you think about it, I mean, you already know this because it's your work, but our thoughts are what is creating the brain process is what is creating the emotions that is then released into the body, which is creating the frequency and which is creating the environment to either make us sick, unhappy, untrustworthy, and in fear, or happy, uplifted in a place of love and joy. And it's up to us to really diligently work out, okay, so is this my unconscious speaking? Is this what's going on? Because if it is, it's a really easy turnaround to get free of it. Yeah, so for 40 years now, we've really been working in this field, and thousands of people actually just getting free from the hidden programs that they don't even know exist. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And you, because of the Sedona method, you understand the reward of seeing people go, wow, I'm no longer affected by that anymore. That emotion, that abuse, everything I've been suffering all of this time, I'm neutral. It's like, don't you love that word neutral?
Yes,
like,
I do actually, yes.
You know, I think neutral is another word for enlightenment, because it's where you become the silent observer of what is, And you can see that event that was really shocking, really. And then you can actually go, well, that was a story and that's my past. And I'm now here. I'm
Yes.
being in brand new karmic soul agreements. I'm living in a totally different way without those triggers. And I think it's the most rewarding work that I have ever done in my life.
Yeah. So I totally hear you. I was actually on an interview this morning and I was talking about something similar that, I've been doing this for 44 years. And one of the reasons I think I stuck with it, besides the powerful effects I saw on myself, is that when people let go of their I call them imaginary limitations because
Yeah,
they're not actually real. The transformations that happen and watching people transform dramatically right in front of your eyes is amazing. And one of the things I've noticed too is that when we help people recognize that which they truly are beyond the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the the programming from the subconscious, they're just in their self-recognition, those things that we thought were insurmountable or we were holding on to just seem to just dissolve
mm,
easily,
well,
naturally.
yeah. It really
And
is instant transformation, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it's amazing how quickly things transform.
Mm.
And interestingly enough, too, the two support each other. The more you clear out your tendencies and desires and excess baggage from the past, the more you create the space to recognize that which you truly are. And the more you recognize that which you truly are, the easier it is to do that. And a lot of that starts happening spontaneously. Has that
Exactly.
been your experience too?
Yes, exactly. And when, in The Greatest Secret, she talks about us being awareness and aware, right? And
Yes.
we would, when we decided to move to the United States, we knew that we had to write our book. And it was like, okay, what's going on here? What are we writing? Like, what's this body of work? And we wanted it to be a legacy in the world. And we started writing up on a huge sheet of paper the names of the chapters across the top with quotes
Yes.
underneath. And you know how you write a book gathering the information.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Yeah. And we're looking at the top. And I looked at Daniel. I said, hang on a minute. Does that doesn't that say platinum? And the names of our chapters in the Codebreaker book are peace, which is our natural state, which is why we knew we had to write about it. Love, which is who we are. So
Yes.
obviously that's in awareness. And this is where the whole thing, the awareness,
Yes.
being able to tap into and be aware, like wake up, stop being oblivious to the truth of who we are, right?
Yes.
And tapping into your intuition and super consciousness in the 0 point field.
Yes.
And then trust. Like, well, trust, if you can't trust, then you're going to always be in a state of fear
Mm-hmm.
and you'll always be anxious, worried. That's where so many people have to get onto drugs because they get depressed. Integrity. And let's face it, without integrity, the strength and the courage to show up from that place of integrity, it is so important, especially in the world today when people are really looking for mentors and teachers who they can trust.
Right.
So people automatically trust you when you're showing up from that place.
Yes.
And
Yes, that's
then
true.
then neutrality, which of course neutrality to me, I call that the big kahuna, because you get neutral when you're no longer being pushed around, when you're trigger free.
Mhm.
Unity, where you can understand that we are all one with all life. We're all made up of the same stuff as the stars. And, we all come from this same divine source that is still God, that is love. And then mindfulness, being able to really tap in to what's happening deep within us, acknowledge it, don't shove it under the carpet and go, yeah, okay, I am feeling this. And I'm going to take responsibility for what I'm feeling. I'm not going to go into guilt, shame, or blame. why am I feeling this, right? And so platinum, what we realized was, okay, so there are 8 superpowers. Our soul's superpowers are platinum.
Uh-huh.
And so now what we teach is how to access your own superpowers. And just as importantly, how to master the blocking frequencies to them.
Mhm.
And this has been a real game changer for people, because a lot of people, I don't know if you've found this, Hal, but a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to work on the shadow side. I don't want to go into the dark side. Why do I need to go that? And I'm going, well, actually, you might want to judge it as the shadow or dark side, but in fact, it's just an aspect of one of your stories. So if you want to judge it as that, you can, but until you come to an awareness of the story, you can't change it.
Yes,
And
no, that's absolutely true.
yeah,
That's absolutely true. We've found uh, that as people see through these illusions that they've been lost in, of the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs from the past, they see what's actually here now. And here now, there is only perfection. There is only love. There's only everything you just described. I mean, those are all characteristics of that you could use to describe your true or natural beingness or isness.
yeah,
And
our true self, isn't it?
exactly,
I mean, people
exactly.
get a shock the first time they hear us say, because I'm sure you say it too, when they hear us say, you are a perfect, divine, high frequency being. And they go, oh, no, not me. Um, when I first started in this work, for some reason, I attracted a lot of women who had cancer.
Mhm.
And I asked all of them the same question. And without fail, every one of them gave me a similar answer. And I said to them, why have you got this? Now, I know to some people that might sound like a really weak question, but you know from our point of view
Yes.
that when you're taking radical personal responsibility for everything that you are manifesting in your life,
Mhm.
good, the bad, and the ugly, and the joyous, that we have created our internal environment via our thoughts. So each one of them said, because I don't love myself enough.
Mm.
And there it is, the biggest unconscious program running through every human on the planet, whether they know it or not, is I'm not enough.
Yes, yes.
Whenever I'm correcting out, whether it's in a group, whatever program it is, that's one of the first things that we correct out of the system. And people actually go, oh, so I don't have to serve everybody. I don't have to be a pleaser anymore. I don't, like in order to have love, I've got to do all of these things. And when they realize that love does not demand that they get, give, or do anything, it
Right.
demands that they just be.
Yes, exactly. Love is our natural state. Love, we look for love in all the wrong places,
Mhm.
yet we are that which is love. And
Yeah.
we've always been that. We just gotten confused in the external world and in our own subconscious, as you so eloquently mentioned.
There's a story in Codebreaker Hell where we talk about God wanting to give humanity the greatest possible gift ever. And he's saying, where will I hide this gift? Oh, I know. I'll hide it on the highest possible mountain. And he thought, no, I can't do that. The English will go there. And then he said, oh, I'll hide it on the moon. And he went, no, the Americans will go there. And then I'll hide it in the deepest abyss in the oceans. And, oh, no, I can't do that. The Russians will go there. But he knew if he hid it and we had to strive for it, that we would know it was valuable. And in the end, he said, I know where I'll place this gift where they'll hardly ever find it. I'll place it deep within their own hearts.
Hmm.
And it was the gift of love.
Hmm.
And so I love that story, because it's like, so it's taken a long time for me to understand the words that I was given as a small child, and to come to this place where I know who I am without doubt. I can feel it in you. I can feel it in Daniel. I can feel it in so many of our friends in the transformational world, that you come to this place where you can finally accept that you are that which you have been seeking, that you do
Yes.
not need the partner to make you happy. You don't need your children to do anything to make you happy. If you're waiting for someone else to make you happy, you're going to be so disappointed, because no one else has been put on the planet to make us happy. That's the good news and the bad news, right? And then, so I just feel, when you're prepared to look at yourself and say, what is the truth about who I am and who every other living soul is? When you really absorb it, when you really get it, there's no going back. I mean, there's just no going back. Even when we have our challenges, even when we go up and down, even when things are still triggered, which we still get
Yes,
because we're in a
yes.
human body, it doesn't matter, because we know that we've got the tools to say, okay, I'm anxious and worried. Oh, that means I've dropped out of trust. Let me get back into trust. Oh, I don't forgive that person. Okay, so I'm no longer in a state of peace. Oh, I'm feeling fear right now. So love is not present. So this whole system that we've created, and I'm sure the Sedona method too, we've created systems and tools for people that are really, really simple. They're not necessarily easy, but they're really, really simple.
Mhm.
And they bring us back to the truth of who we are. I'd love to say one thing about The Secret, by the way, the book.
Sure, go right ahead.
When it first came out, it was like, oh, wow. I was like everyone else, and we were just blown away by it. And of course, the movie was phenomenal. And people used to come to us and say, oh, I'm really dumb, or I'm really stupid, I'm really depressed. I do everything. I do the vision boards. I do everything, and I still don't get what I want. And other people do, and I don't. And I would look at them and I'd say, well, there is another secret that's just missing at the moment. And that is that you do have an unconscious mind running your show, and that your conscious mind might go, I love this vision board. There's my perfect man. There's my perfect job. And look at what I've got. And what I've got. And the unconscious mind is going, who do you think you are? You're never having that.
Right.
And the unconscious mind is so much more powerful than the conscious mind. So this mind wins every time in that debate. And you don't even know that there's a debate going on. You're still waiting for it all to happen. And that's what I love about expanding on The Secret. That's what I love that Rhonda has expanded on it,
Yes.
because it feels like, yes, that's the next step. And then the next step is I wanted to write the next one totally about the unconscious, because I feel like, okay, you might want that too, I think, because that's really where all of the juice is going to happen for all of us.
Yeah, no, I totally hear what you're saying. And when The Secret came out, I had actually a very small part in it, because Rhonda interviewed me for an hour and a half. And at the very end, all she wanted to talk about was what we do, the Sedona method, because she at that point already knew about it, loved my mentor, Lester Levinson. And so we were doing this recorded interview about that. And at the very end, she said, oh, we need to talk about the law of attraction, because we don't talk about that, you are not going to end up in this movie. So I quickly thought of something I could talk about. And I mentioned this thing about be for what you want, as opposed to against what you don't.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
and there's a whole segment of the movie The Secret that was based around that quote, because that is a core part of it's a core part of our teaching, but it's also a core part of the Secret. But at the time, Rhonda was planning to make several other movies, including one about letting go. And that was, we recorded a bunch of it in that interview, and that never happened. And then we reconnected 14 years later with The Greatest Secret. And a lot of her journey has been around expanding upon that, and also diving into the non-dual teachings that are behind all other teachings, when you recognize that you are that pure one beingness or awareness or love, there are a lot of synonyms. When you recognize that's who you are, then everything starts falling perfectly into line. And that helps you clear out the subconscious, as you said. In fact, it's easier. The more you recognize the truth of who you are, the easier it is to let go of whatever remaining issues you're still clinging to.
By the way,
So
when you said that quote, I just got a little bit emotional. They're really power-packed words, aren't they?
yes, they
Yeah.
are.
And Codebreaker, I know you haven't had the opportunity to read it yet. We'll send you a copy of it.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Please do. I'd love to read it.
Yeah. Codebreaker is a stealth introduction to non-duality. It's like getting under there and getting to know this is what this is about, because non-duality is the secret of all secrets.
Yes, it is.
Really, it's like there's nothing. Once you get that, there's nothing else. You just
That's right.
you get it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, right now, the one is talking to itself.
That's right. You know, I know you. I know you talked to Jack Canfield not
Yeah,
long ago.
he's a buddy. I mean,
Oh my God.
he discussed whether or not to start this organization that I helped found, and you're still a member of, the Transformational Leadership Council. And it was fun discussing it with him and putting it all together. And we used to talk like at least once a month. And we still, whenever we see each other, it's like we both melt, because we're like brothers.
Yeah,
He used to say, I'm a brother. He used to say, you're a brother from another mother.
Yes, and you know what? I can actually feel that. My Daniel is the same. But what I was going to say about Jack, we just spoke the other day, and he said, "Oh, I was on this podcast with Hale," and I said, "Oh, yeah," and he said he quoted, and I don't remember who he quoted, but it was a guru, an Indian guru.
Mhm.
You might remember the name. I don't. And he said, "I was introduced to this man," and he shook my hand and he said, "Hello, me."
Yes, I don't remember. Oh, I don't remember the name of the
No,
teacher.
it's okay. It was a long name. So
Yes,
we're
yes.
both excused. but hello, me. And
yes.
that's totally non-duality. You know, when you start having those experiences, I remember sitting in my car at a crosswalk. Do you call them? They're called crosswalks here, aren't they?
Yeah, the intersection crosswalk. We talk the same way.
And I was looking, and there was this little boy walking across the road. And then there was a stooped old man, and then there was this woman with this flaming, beautiful, flowing red hair. And I'm looking at them, and I went into this. I call them awakened, aware states.
Yes.
And I looked at them, and I thought, oh, there I am. I'm skipping across the road. Oh, there I am. I'm hobbling across. There I am. I'm flowing through the world. And it was just all me. There was nothing. Those three people were not three people. They were me. And what we teach people now is saying, listen, jealousy is a thing of the past. How can you be jealous of yourself? If you see someone doing something amazing, if you see a multi-billionaire, if you see somebody in the home of your dreams, you're going, there I am. I'm living in that home. There I am. I'm living that life. There I am. I am that mentor. I am that teacher. I am that being. And the minute you get that I amness, that beingness, all of the jealousy, the comparison, the self-criticism just goes out the door. And those three things alone are enough to kill you, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's so nice. When I first started recognizing this decades ago, the experiences were exquisite. Just like you're talking about. But what's nice is now it's just what's natural.
Yeah.
And I know you experience the same thing. And your husband does too.
I know. I love this conversation now, because in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even, I was always seeking for the enlightenment experience, the high, and and I'd get it and I'd go, and I'd be who needs drugs? Who needs alcohol? Who needs
Right.
I'm just high, right?
Right.
And that awakened enlightened experience. And the first time I ever had that, by the way, I was 18 years old, and I was dying. And as I was dying, I had that platinum experience. This peace descended over me, and I'm going, oh, this is really my natural state. And then the love of like, my heart, I thought my heart was taking over my whole body. I was totally aware of all of the doctors and the nurses and the other patients. I was aware that of what they were thinking, feeling, doing. I trusted. There was such a level of trust, like, well, whatever's happened, I die, I don't, whatever. And there was an integrity about it. There was this courage and strength that I hadn't tapped into before at 18. And I was neutral. I was like, wow. And there was this unity of like, everybody was me. And I was so mindful of what was going on inside of me. And this, I didn't even realize it was an awakened, aware experience until afterwards, because I had no frame of reference for that. Right. But believe me, when I woke up in that trashed out, pain-filled body, having some of my insides cut out, I was no longer in that place. There was like this angry 18-year-old going, what is this? Right. But yeah, so the enlightenment experience is like, when you've had it, you want it. But then you make this switch. Like the more the knowledge, the information, the more you live it. So I'm talking about living it now, not reading about it. I'm living it. The more we live it, we have simply become it. And we no longer seek. We know there is nothing that we need to seek. I mean, I even hardly meditate these days, because my whole life is like a meditation.
Yes.
And it's just a different state of being. And we just want everyone in the world to know this state, right?
Yeah. Well, that's been my mission for 44 years.
We must be the same. We must be similar babies. We must be 50s babies, because it's been mine for about 40 years.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're a similar age too, so maybe that was something about the 50s that produced people like that. Who knows?
You know, Hal, I think, and a lot of my friends are saying this, it's almost like we incarnated at that particular time to go through all of the trauma and the challenges that we have, to find the information and the wisdom that we've got in order to be here now for people. Because
yes, that's possible.
It feels like this was a deliberate decision to be here on the planet now.
Yes.
When the whole of humanity needs love and support, when the whole of humanity needs these messages, there are enough of us disseminating it. And I'm going, yeah, that feels good, doesn't it?
It does. It's a wonderful way to look at it, because I've really noticed over the years that when we first started talking about this in the 70s, we were talking another language. Almost no one was talking about this. Yeah, exactly. Stop. I don't want to hear that. But now it's so wonderful, even meeting people who are being exposed to our work for the very first time. It's like preaching to the choir.
Yeah, they know, don't they?
Yes, they have this deep intuitive knowingness.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I say to people too, is follow your own inner resonance. If you follow your own inner resonance, it will never lead you wrong. When we override that resonance because of our beliefs about what should be or could be or what was, then we miss what is.
Yeah, and if you have the need to be right, you're going to miss everything. Really? Yeah. I'm going to tell you a quick story, because I loved what you said about in the 70s, and nobody knew what we were talking about. It was like, it was woo woo. I hate that saying, by the way. I know this is woo hoo, not woo woo. And exactly, when I first started meditating, when I found my very first spiritual mentor, I was invited to go to a spiritual healing night every Thursday night in this hall. And so we get there, and at 7:30 they lock the doors in the hall. And I went to her and I said, "Why are you locking the doors?" Oh, she said, "It's just a habit." She said, we used to get raided by the police for witchcraft, so we still lock the doors. And I'm going, oh my God, because they'd been set up doing this for 40 years before I got in there, right?
Right.
So this was like 80, 90 years ago. And
Right.
they were still calling meditation witchcraft at that stage.
Wow.
So we have come a long way.
Yes, we have. We have.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's all the people who are coming to this work now are benefiting from all the work that all of us have been doing for decades. And again, since there's only one, we were been doing it for each other. And I feel actually very, very grateful and fortunate to have been how this particular body mind is used in this particular way. It's just wonderful. Yeah. I can't think of something I'd rather be doing. Or what's interesting, even more than that, I don't really feel like I'm doing anything. When I show up to lead a seminar or a retreat or write a book or whatever, it just is. This vestiges of Hale disappear, and it's just coming through. Exactly. And I'm just watching. And it sounds like you've been having that experience for a long time.
I can feel your beingness, Hale, and it's so beautiful. It's like you have so strengthened your own connection to your true self, and to the awareness that you are, the beingness that you are, that it's so easy when you start work to just get out of the way and let the work come through. And
yes.
Daniel says to me, well, or I say, one day I'll retire. He said, don't be ridiculous. You'll never retire. He said, you are the happiest when you're working, when you're out of the way, when you're bringing through this divine frequency, love, wisdom. And I think that almost we're addicted to love. We're addicted to that high because it's like being addicted to who we are.
Yes. Well, I do say to someone that even though all addiction is limiting, and once you recognize the truth of who you are, there's no longer any striving. You're just coming from that or as that. But if you want to have an addiction, be addicted to freedom, be addicted to joy, be addicted to love, be addicted to truth, and get your fix as often as possible, because every time you do, you realize that you're just meeting yourself.
You're taking another leap in consciousness every time you do.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. We're here to learn, grow, have fun with each other, with more of who we are.
Yes.
And, not many people are living that yet, but we're putting a dent in it.
Yeah, but it's more and more. It's pretty amazing. I mean, again, I was thrilled. It was nice that there was a big part of the Sedona method in mine and Lester's teachings in The Greatest Secret, but I was even more excited about the fact that if this really gets into mass consciousness, which, because of Rhonda's capability of being a queer vehicle and her history, I think is a real possibility. It's been a slow build so far, mostly because I think when The Secret came out, it made a huge splash.
Oh, it was a turning point in consciousness.
It was. And I think this one is too, but it's more gradual because it's been such a tumultuous time that people have been very distracted by everything else that's going on, and they don't even realize that this is actually, in some levels, way more important than,
just think about
the stuff happening on the surface.
Yeah. How a lot of people are attached to being law of attraction teachers.
Yes.
And so then to move into this next era, they're going to have to expand that, right? And people don't necessarily love change, but when they read this book, they'll get it on such a deep level. I'm sure it's going to have the impact that she has meant it to have.
Yes, I'm sure too.
Mm.
And that's exactly why we're having this conversation. This is part of how it has the impact.
Yeah.
I've been gathering the people in The Greatest Secret and The Secret, and even though you weren't in either one of those, you're going in the same direction, people going in the same direction, so we can speak in one voice to start sharing the good news with everybody. And it's pretty exciting.
It's the most exciting thing there is.
So, before we conclude, is there anything you want to is there either something, a practical tip or technique or tool you can offer people, and or is there a pearl of wisdom you can take from your work that you want to leave people with?
Yeah. Well, I'd actually love to teach people, give them the 4 questions, which is something that Daniel and I have been teaching for
Oh,
decades.
that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That would be
And
wonderful.
the reason why is because when you master using the 4 questions, which are really tiny and easy, you will change your frequency, change your state, change the way you show up, which will completely bring you into a state of awareness,
That's
right?
great. Great.
Yeah. So the first question is, what am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you my 27-year-old who was going through a shocking time. I'm going to give you her answers. Right? What am I feeling? I'm feeling unsupported, angry, alone. I don't want to go to work. The next question is, what's my focus?
Mm-hmm.
My focus was, I'm focused on the fact that I've got people ringing me every day for money in my business that I don't have. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to be here. I'm on edge.
Mm-hmm.
So those 2 first questions are like in the ego mind, and they're telling you what's going on.
Sure.
And then the next question is, what do I want to feel? And that was an easy one. It's like, I want to feel happy about going to work again. And then the last question is, what focus will serve that?
Mm-hmm.
And at that one, I had to take a really deep breath. And I went, okay, I have to focus on the absolute love and gratitude that I have, that I had the creativity to even create these businesses, that I have the most incredible staff, fabulous clients, that I am even grateful for my suppliers. And that changed my frequency to such a degree that when I went into my business, people wanted me there. They were like, oh, and I would talk to my suppliers and say, I don't have your money. And they go, well, that's refreshing. Most people say the check's in the mail. And I go, no, I don't have it. But this week, the sales that I make, I will give you a portion of it like I will everyone else. And all of these suppliers trusted me because they felt the frequency of integrity. They knew that I was in a place of truth. They were using their awareness, by the way,
Yes, yes.
to make that decision. And every one of them supported me through that financial crisis that was happening in our town. And I came out the other end. 3 years later, I was a self-made millionaire. And that's why I love to teach, and Daniel and I love to teach the 4 questions. What am I feeling? What's my focus? What do I want to feel? What focus will serve that? Because of the people who have used those 4 questions around the world, people have changed their businesses, they've changed they've retained staff, whereas before they were losing staff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going into a meeting and feeling nervous and upset. Can you imagine before you go on stage, before you do anything, asking you those questions and go, like, I'm going on stage. What do I want to feel? I want to feel confident and happy and people are going to love me. What focus will serve that? I am so happy and grateful that I am so well prepared. And, like there's so many, truly, there's such simple little questions, but they are changing people's perception. They're getting people neutral and they're getting people into that instant shift. So, and that's what we're after, right? We're in an instant
Right.
world.
Very much
So
so.
it has to, yeah. Yeah. And I think if people are really interested, we have got books and programs and live events that really dig deep into the unconscious where it's all happening. And if they want to go to thebiskinds.com, everything's in there. And yeah, we're putting in as many free meditations, as many free programs. We want people around the world, regardless of their financial situation, to have access to the transformation. And that's been really important to us. It's kind of a give back that we all do.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Sandra Biskind. You can learn more about Sandra, her book, and programs where happiness success is inevitable by visiting her website at thebiskinds.com. That's www.thebiskinds, BISKINDS.com. thebiskinds.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you can have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona Method, please visit sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, and events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's SEDONA.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.